made an adventure together over a 3-part series, and then later on we did the 4th part, which was a boss battle. We've also, over the course of the year, made a town and made some adventures, just chat, deciding what we're going to do and how we're going to piece things together. And I figured, what if we take all of those lessons and we make it into one series, starting with a new adventure from scratch. We build out all the different sort of pieces that we need, and right now we're going to start with factions. We're going to talk about the sort of overarching themes of the adventure, and then over the course of the series we'll make a hex crawl map, we'll make a new town, we'll make a whole bunch of 5-room dungeons, and then tie it all together into one adventure from start to finish around a small town in Atroxia called Dillhorne that I don't know anything about, so we're going to create it together. And this will be a level 1 to 3 adventure where you can hopefully run it as a sort of starter set that would work for new DMs starting out for the first time. It would be fun and interesting way to introduce people to Atroxia, my setting. But also just it would be a fun thing to do together, you and I here in chat. Welcome to Mystic Arts. My name is Daði. I'm a professional writer and director, and I've been DMing for over 10 years. It's not 11 just yet for anybody keeping count. And yeah, we are live for folks asking. How y'all doing? If you're watching the VOD, I'll make sure to put a little link whenever I play the jingle and we actually get into it. But I've been told that the great thing to do at the start of these things is to sort of set up a little Q&A where people can ask questions if they want to get the ball rolling. Audio's quiet. I don't know why that is. I've got the right microphone selected. Oh, it's just set to very quiet. Okay, hang on. That should be fine. We should all be in the green now, and by the green I mean the red decibels. Is that better for folks? Good evening, everybody. Hi, Valur. I'm Icelandic. A little stressed. Oh, you're crunching. I saw in chat you were crunching for like a thesis? College assignment. Yeah. I'm really curious because I wanted to figure out how to do this stuff together. So we've been doing the zine now for a little bit. I'm working on issue 2. Yesterday we just did a play test where we got all the players together and we're running through a sort of haunted house scenario, which is going to be in the next issue of the Broadsheet. And it was kind of intense. We think we're going to have to nerf a couple of the bad guys a little bit. The players had a really rough time of it. But that's why we playtest those things. And then me and Magnus were talking after the session. We had notes to pass each other for how to finish up the adventure. And then he said, I think it would be great if we made a little hex crawl together. And I thought, yeah, that's brilliant. I've been wanting to do a sort of starter adventure, and I miss streaming. And I'm kind of... The stars kind of aligned because AB's back at band practice now for a couple of weeks, so she's not going to be here on Mondays. So it might be that we'll do another one of these next week where we do the next part, but I don't know what the next part's going to be yet. So I assume that at the end of the stream we'll do a poll and we'll ask folks what they think the most important thing to sort out next would be. How do I collect playtest feedback? I just run the session for a few of my friends. Right now that's sort of how we're doing it because the time frame we're working on is very tight. If we were to sort of do anything more public, we'd probably do it over the Discord. I'm a big believer in just sort of using the Discord for asking fans or followers of the channel or whatever, parts of the community, what they want to do. Because I knew I wanted to stream today, and I texted in the live stream chat on Discord a couple of days ago. I was like, if I stream on Monday, what do you folks want to see? And one of the responses that got some traction was, can we talk about that faction video you did, the 3 faction rule, the one where I go like that in the thumbnail and focuses on my fingers. But I had to go rewatch that video to try and sort of remind myself what I was saying, because I was talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly factions and them having sort of nested layers, and I don't know how to do that for a starter adventure, but I think we're going to try and find that out today. I have a Discord? Yeah. Yeah, there's a Discord. Anybody who's a channel member or a patron gets access to the Discord. Where we bombard the DM with thanks and praise for running an awesome channel. Aw, thank you. That way we can sort of poll community members and stuff on there, and folks talk about their game, ask for advice on things they're running or homebrew they're doing. There's also an asking for game section, and my favorite chat is the one where people post their pets. It's called Familiars. You gotta get on that. Let me see. Let me set up a couple of things here. There we go. Now I don't know where we want to begin. I could sort of tell you a little bit about the zine. Hi, Alejandro. Private 13? So it was Lou and Private 13, I think, that asked for this. Somebody asked for me to... I think Lou asked me to beat the Ender Dragon. I don't think I'm going to do that. I think if I ever get into beating the Ender Dragon, that's going to be a Twitch thing. But I can't say that I have plans for that. I've got... So... Yeah, we did a little playtest. We ended up making new ghost stat blocks for that. The whole idea was that the only sort of ghosts in D&D are really high CR, and even if you have a lower CR ethereal undead, it's still a shadow, which like drains strength and stuff like that, which is really tough. And the main thing we were testing was the haunts. So we wanted the house to feel kind of alive. So we had this system where you roll a d8, and depending on what you get on the d8, you get a different kind of haunt in this haunted house scenario. And you know, the doors lock, or you feel these creeping shadows or something, and they all have little mechanical effects and some read aloud text. And we were testing them, and the idea was that if you roll the same result more than once, you get a worse haunt called a phantasm, and if you get all three of those, you get the ghost to show up. And the ghost is really, really scary, so you kind of have to solve the puzzle of the haunt, like why it's happening, and do a little bit of investigative adventuring. And once you've done all of that, you could beat the adventure. So we did sort of run through that bit, and it. One of the things we ran into was that we decided that there was a bit in one of the haunts, or the phantasms, where like objects around the house animate and beat the crap out of the players. But the thing is, we quickly grabbed the animated broom stat block, which is CR 1/4, and we thought that would be reasonable. And it turns out that thing has AC 15, 14 hit points, and a +5 to hit and +3 to damage. Which was just a lot, because they buffed a whole bunch of monsters in the 2024 edition, and they were all really scary. And some of them get a little buff, and I've usually been happy with it because I run a table of 7 players in my main game. But in the playtest, we're playtesting for 4, because the sort of D&D specifications is 4 to 5 players. So I figure if it works for 4, then DMs can add a little bit onto it to get the 5th, scale it up to 5. But grabbing just a handful of CR 1/4 stat blocks and throwing them at a party of 4 level 2 characters was brutal. I thought they were all going to die. AC 15 for a broom sounds insane, right? So I think we're also... I don't think the adventure can use any stats from the monster manual if we want to run it as like one contained scenario with many fights in it, because I think it will just beat the crap out of players. It will absolutely annihilate them. 7 players, right? Yeah. I don't recommend that. If you're a new DM, don't run for 7 people. If you're a new DM, run for 4. Ideally, I think the best games are the most fun I ever have as a DM is when I'm running for 2 or 3 players, because then everybody gets a whole bunch of spotlight. Everybody gets to be their characters and come alive. But no, I run for 7, and that's only because there are so many people I want to play with, and 7 is the absolute maximum I could imagine doing. So that's sort of the cliché around why we're doing that many players. I wouldn't recommend it, but I have fun. Hey, thanks, Chicken Master. Oh, sorry, No Fun Allowed. No Fun Allowed just did a lovely interview, a review of our zine. I was fascinated watching that, No Fun Allowed, because you clearly grasp the entire thing. If you wanna know what we're up to with the magazine, go check out No Fun Alloud's review. It's very comprehensive, and it'll show you everything you'd get as a part of it without having to pay for it to try it out. So if you just want to have a look at it, go check out their video. Broom is very agile. That's right. I mean, it's a small flying object, so we'll have to make our own flying object. We'll probably just make it be tiny, and that'll justify us lowering the hit points and lowering the 2-hit modifier. I've run a D&D campaign for 11 players. I haven't run a campaign for 11 players, but I have run a session for 11. I think a session for 12 at one point. I don't recommend that. Yeah, so many people talk. Nick Gilby says 10 players. So many people talk about their first time out being a lot of players, and that's usually because what happens is you say somewhere in a group where you think I'm only going to get a handful of these people. So you say, "Oh, what does anyone want to play D&D?" And 10 people say yes, and now you're on the hook to run for 10. If you find yourself in that situation, maybe split them up, or maybe just put it into your experience dossier. Write down, oh, look. I could do this. I'm never going to do it again. There's a saying we do a lot at our table, which is, this was a lot of fun. I never want to do it again. And that's usually because it genuinely was a lot of fun, but you don't want to do it again. Having 10 players is one of those things where it's like, wow, this was great. There were so many people around and we were all having a blast. Let's never do it again. This was also what happened when we ran Tomb of Horrors. We all went, this was amazing. I'm so glad I did this. I had a lot of fun. I don't want D&D to be like this. Yeah, Nick, mine was at church. I didn't think I'd get that many at church. No, I had the exact same experience. Not at church, but at a youth organization I was in. And we were like, okay, we'll run D&D. And it was one of the most attended events for that youth organization, which means we had 2 DMs on 2 tables, both running 10 or 11 players. Which is just crazy. Miguel says, what I found with 7 is that mini conversations constantly pop up, and 4 is the sweet spot. Yeah, we have the same thing happen. With our 7 players, what's consistently happening is one player will tell something to another player that ultimately the entire group needs to hear it. And then those 2 players talk about it, and then they go tell the group. Which doesn't sound like that big a deal, but when there's lots of plot threads going on, there's 7 players around the table, that means that every discussion is 2 discussions. And the first one is very intricate because it has to be explained, and then it's the repeat discussion later. So as a DM, I really should do more of put more work into making sure to go, hey, you walk into this do you want to walk into this conversation? Do you want to hear what they're talking about? Somebody goes, could I hear this? And I go, yeah, 100% you could hear it. Let's try and cut down on the amount of conversations we're doing. Playing with 11 players for 3 years, 1 session every week. It's a whole experience and a half. So what Magnus did when he ran Odyssey of the Dragon Lords for us is that he ran... Basically, the adventure was very singularly focused. There's a bunch of stuff in Odyssey where you can sail around islands and go visit places and have sort of have an experience of going, oh, what's here, I have these plot threads. What we ended up doing is, over the course of the adventure, it just became more and more singularly focused on, we are here to kill the Babig. That's it. That's our job. So we better go kill the Babig. Does this side quest help us kill the Babig? If no, then we're not doing it. If yes, then we're doing it. Because there are 8 of us. So we really needed to all be completely on board with literally everything we did. Peto2K24 asks, what are your rules when fully exploring a hex? Fully exploring hexes in your hex scrolls. If they explore a hex, they find all the stuff in it. If they spend the time, they find all the stuff. The thing with a hex scroll is that time is one of the resources you're tracking. And I think D&D is at its best when you do that. We do the same in the Zine adventures, in the broadsheets. Check out the broadsheets, available now on the Patreon. Those adventures are all sort of, so far, we've built a timer into all of them. Because I just think a ticking clock makes things better. So if your players are going to every hex and fully exploring every hex, maybe put a time frame on there. But I genuinely just make it be, if you spend the time, you get the resource. You get to know what's in there. And the same with if you're doing dungeon turns. I should do a video on dungeon turns. I think we should do one in December. What we do is we sort of go, okay, we're gonna spend time to look at this room. That usually means I don't make them roll, or I make them roll to see if they find it instantly, and if they don't, it's gonna take them time. And that way time becomes one of the resources we're tracking, especially if you're wondering about wandering monsters or random encounters or any of those things that sort of tax time. And that's an easy way to make time matter, is just if you spend time, you get a random encounter. Or, in the haunted house example, if you spend time, you get a haunt, which might deal damage. Or in a hex crawl, if you spend time at the end of the day, every day I roll for a random encounter. Not every hex, every day. So that means they're incentivized to move faster, right? How many things do I put in a hex? Do I use a random table to see what they find in them? No, I don't use a random table. I try and make my hex map first. We have a video on the channel about how to make hex maps, and most hexes we have be empty, and then around half or less than half have either a dungeon or a landmark or something in them, whether that's, a river cuts through here, or there's a way to see further in this one, or there's a tower you can climb to see higher up, or, mountains, you can go up a mountain to see further. But then you keep it simple. I wouldn't put too much into hex, unless it's a dungeon. Then it's a whole dungeon, right? But go check out our video on making hex maps. It came out just after the one on 3 Mile Hexes. Please do a dungeon turn video. Yeah, 100%. I really want to make one because I've been testing it a lot more. So the first time I mentioned it in a video, I hadn't really given it a go. And since then I've been using it, and they've been great. Basically, it just means you track time in 10-minute increments, and any roll you fail or anything like that can be solved by auto-succeeding if you take 10 minutes. But that means you're tracking 10-minute intervals, and you either roll a random monster at the end of an hour, so that's 6 turns, or at the end of a 10-minute turn, or twice an hour. You can build your dungeon turns in any order that you do them in, or like any you can pick a tempo for it. This also makes it make sense when spells are like, you can cast detect magic, it lasts for 10 minutes. Why 10 minutes? Where does that come from? It's one dungeon turn. It's just a relic of AD&D stuff, right? Hex crawls are great, Nandez. I love them. Too much content in your hexes. If you're doing 3 Mile hexes, that means they're going through many hexes in a day. If they've got a clear shot, like if it's plains or hills or something, they can cross 4. Yeah, they can cross 4 hexes. If you're using the exploration rules I made, they're available on the Patreon, but they're also available just by watching that video, and you can see all the whole sausage. It's not complicated. But that means they're crossing many hexes in a day. So if most of your hexes have anything in them, that means a whole day can take ages. So sometimes I try and deliberately sort of make it so that we move faster along, and we go through many hexes in a day, or maybe if they've sort of fully explored a region. I did this recently. I gave the ranger in the party a reward that if she's in the party, they're not slowed down in this territory. So that means that whenever they're going through that territory, or when they're not, they might be incentivized to cut through that territory, because she can't get lost, she can't be slowed, and she can't get random encounters. So she really wants to go through that territory. And that means that you can skip over lots of time, which is also just useful because it lets time progress, lets the bad guys do things, lets you change the seasons if you're rolling for random weather and stuff like that. How long does a typical combat take in your 7-player game? 2 hours, maybe. Maybe 1 hour. In that sort of range. We tend to do a typical combat. We tend to not have be that deadly, because I do many of them over the course of between long rests, right? Between good rests. So they'll get several different encounters. They all tax resources, and they're usually quite fast. If we're dungeon crawling, what I did the other day is we were dungeon crawling. I just had them roll initiative once, and they could swap any initiatives. So I'd say you roll initiative, and they all get some numbers, and then you could swap them in any order you like. But these are the party initiatives, and they sort of took this one, moved that one. Little shell game. And then that's the initiative unless something crazy happens. Like if a boss shows up or Kool-Aid Man bursts through the door, we roll initiative again. But unless that happens, if a fight starts, we just use the initiative that we have right now. And that meant we could fight a gelatinous cube on its own. We could fight a mimic all on its own. I feel like there was one other fight. Maybe I'm misremembering. But that meant it wouldn't be that big a deal if I just say, okay, you stumble upon a goblin. It's first initiative, church, it's your turn, or whatever. Is there a place for hex crawls in one-shot adventures? In one session? Nah. If you're doing a one-shot, you kind of want to make sure that you have a beginning, middle, and an end. And you kind of want to make sure that you can cut stuff out of the middle. And hex crawls are at their best when you're making informed choices. That means you have to inform the choice, discuss the choice, and get the feedback from the choice. If you're doing that all in one session, how are you preparing anything? Like, how do you arrive with content? I think it's very difficult. I think if you're doing, 3 or 4, maybe, yeah, why not? How player-facing do I like your dungeon turns to be? Like, a little. What I'll often do is I'll tell them, this takes some time, and the players know I use dungeon turns. They're like, right, okay, but I don't like it. I don't like saying that is the top of the dungeon turn. Now let's all announce what we're doing. I tend to just go around the table while Maeve is looking at the altar. What's anyone else doing? And the wizard raises his hand. I go, Alton. I'm identifying this magic item. I'm okay, great, church. He's like, I'm opening this door, and I just go around the table. And it usually works. It usually means we don't have to spend a lot of time saying, oh, it's this turn or that turn. Going back to dungeon turns, how do I know when a 10-minute turn has finished? When everyone does one dungeon action. Study, like, casting a ritual spell takes 10 minutes, so that's a dungeon turn, right? That's automatic, easy to remember. Studying a room thoroughly, that's a dungeon turn. Just that kind of stuff. You sort of have to wing it. You kind of have to, not think too hard about it, basically. Hey, it's Beyond the Circles. Thanks for the support emoji. How many scenes do you think should happen in a one-shot of about 6-hour duration? I don't know. That depends on your players and on what you call a scene. Is a combat the scene? I think if you have 3 combat encounters, that means that you're fine. You can cut the middle one. You can't cut the first one because you're starting with it, but you can cut the middle one. And then whatever exploration bits you have in between or dialogue bits, you're going to be ready to cut them because you need to get to your final boss. Yeah, Xanathar. Like, whenever you roll initiative, you sort of tend to break the flow of the game, right? You say roll initiative, and then there's this sort of, okay, hang on, we do a little bit of math. In my experience, it doesn't take that long. I just put it up on the screen. On the top of my DM screen, I have, like, numbers, 0, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 written on them. And I just drop the icons where they are. It doesn't take that long. But if I'm drawing a map and stuff like that, it can take a minute. So just pre-rolling sort of allowed us to skim off a few minutes there. But there are games out there, like RPG systems, that don't use initiative at all. They just have players announce their turns, and they seem to work fine. There are others where people just go around the table. A lot of, depending on what OSR game you're looking at, people literally just start on the DM's right-hand side, go around, and come back. And you could do that in D&D. I would just suggest that you do it in an order where you sort of roughly align to players' dex and initiative bonuses. Like if somebody took like alert or anything that gives you extra initiative, and then you swap initiatives mid-game, they're going to be upset. So make sure you talk to those players, and if you're trying this stuff, make sure they're on board. And then, maybe throw them a bone and say, okay, you pick these feats, that just means you're going to sit over here. Or you can swap out your feats. You can give it a go. Your mileage may vary. How do you make random encounters feel neither bland or weirdly coincidental? I used to worry about this a lot more than I do right now. I think if you're playing in a game where resources matter, where it's not guaranteed we're going to get a long rest after the fight, it already becomes about the resources. You know what I mean? So, okay, let's say we're walking through a dungeon, Umber Hulk busts through the wall, we now have to go fight an Umber Hulk. That's entirely coincidental. and it's fairly generic. Umber Hulks are pretty fun to run. They've got like paralyzing eyeballs and stuff. But that also means that you're just playing around with it. So and that also means that if the players are worried about having hit points or having class abilities for whenever the big boss shows up, the random encounter becomes a part of the exploration resource economy where it's now punishing. We've been dilly-dallying around for too long, and something burst through the door. Why were we wasting time? Let's be faster. Let's conserve our time. Let's not waste time on something we don't need to do. And it creates this sort of urgency, and it creates this thing where now in the middle of the fight, we're making sure we're doing the smart thing. So usually my issue with random encounters was the fact that they didn't matter, because everybody was about to get a long rest. So I use my excursion resting. We've got a video on that on the channel. But you could also just make it be so that you can't rest unless you're safe or back in town or whatever it is. I need to practice one-shots. They always end up going overboard, being 2 or 3 sessions and a bit bloated. Yeah, one-shots are usually sort of talked about as a tip for DMs to get started, and I don't think they're good for that. I think a lot of DMs, especially new DMs, they're going to struggle with making sure that we get it done in one session. And if your one shot becomes 3 sessions, a lot of the time it becomes bloated. So usually you have to cut content, trim, get it shorter, and land the tempo. If you go back and watch a movie from the 90s, you know what I mean. Because if you're used to watching stuff on Netflix or on streaming, Apple TV, you like Severance or Arcane, then you're used to stories that take a while to unfold. And then trying to think of a one-shot is going to feel a bit counterintuitive to you. But I remember watching Back to the Future during COVID, rewatching it, and thinking about how every line of dialogue in the first 20 minutes is set up for what happens in the rest of the movie. And every scene is thrusting us forward into the plot to make sure that we get to the interesting bit where they travel back in time. Spoilers, that's in the movie. So the whole thing you're up to when you're doing a one-shot, you got to be thinking about it like movie pacing. It's about this thing. It's about this bad guy. It's about this plot. There's one where like the sheep go missing or something. It's about that. That's the story of the adventure. It's a famous one-shot. I don't know if you... Anyway. Everything that isn't that has to go. Everything that isn't this one thing has to go. One shot. You just do one thing. Anyway. I started the stream because I wanted to make an adventure. And I wanted to get your help with it. And now that I see that some folks have joined, I figured let's talk about what kind of adventure we're going to make. Because I don't know. I know where it's set. And I know what level range it is. But I don't know anything else. So what we're going to do is... we're going to make an adventure for a town called Dillhorne in the middle of the Ashwood Forest, inside my campaign setting of Atroxia. Eventually, I'll probably go turn this into an adventure anybody can run. I'll put layout on it and make it look nice, get it edited, and maybe get some art on it. But right now, we're just going to talk about what that should look like and what we're thinking it is. So without further ado, I now need to stop being Daði from Mystic Arts and become Dadi the Dungeon Guy.
Dadi the Dungeon Guy.
The Dungeon Guy.
Dadi the Dungeon Guy.
Subscribe to Dillhorne. D&D rules.
Dadi the Dungeon Guy.
Welcome back to Smash.
Clearly
Pass.
agile, sneaky, intelligent, powerful. I'm on the bed already.
T-minus 5 seconds.
Dadi the Dungeon Guy.
Here I've got a map. This is Dillhorne in the Ashwood Forest. This is Crownland inside the continent of Ariston on the realm of Atroxia. My world is massive, so I had to find some way to divide it up in my head. And what I did is, this is the map on the back of my wall if you watched our videos. Those realms, there are 7 of them. That doesn't matter for this video. One of them is Atroxia. That's where the zine is set. The broadsheet available now on Patreon. And here we've got the continent of Ariston. It's this big boy. And southern Ariston is its own nation. But the rest of it is a part of the Atroxian Republic, which includes other islands. It includes Dragon Rock and Tradia. It includes some colonies far away. And in the middle of central Ariston, there is the Crownland. And the Crownland is huge. It's all of this Flydale, Shafton, all the way down here to Whitefish, and all the way down to Hornwatch and Asgard. Ashgard. And in the middle of that, you've got the Ashwood Forest, where a bunch of ash trees are, and that's presumably what they're going to be named after, right? And there is a train track, that's this dashed line that goes from Ashgard to Hornwatch to Quetchley to Dillhorne, Bastion, and Blackguard. And the first adventure in the zine, the broadsheet available now on Patreon, sorry, that's a dumb gag, but I'm going to keep doing it. The heroes take the night train from Dillhorne up to Bastion and Blackguard. It's a 2-hour ride, and there's an adventure that happens on the night train, and that's the start of the sort of connecting series of modular adventures that we're publishing over on the Patreon. But I thought, what if you want, because that first adventure it's quite long. I think it's like 13 pages, but it's a one-shot. So if you want to know how to do a one-shot, that's a lot of text. But it's that long because it's got all the stat blocks, it's got art in it, all the maps, and includes what all the NPCs are carrying in case the PCs loot them. Like it's disturbingly detailed. But I thought, what if we do just a regular beginner adventure, something closer to the D&D starter set, where every adventure fits on a page spread, and you've got a map, and then you got what's in this location. And then maybe it's a half map and then half text, and you've got just sort of one spread, so you can open it up and run a dungeon. I thought, what if we zoom right into Dillhorne, and now the quality of the map starts breaking apart, so maybe not that close. And we think, Dillhorne is this town. It's probably recently settled. It's probably a part of this train track that connects these two bits. What if we figure out what Dillhorne is, what it's like, and what kind of adventures there might be out in the forest? I don't know. It would be fun if those adventures included monsters that we've made on the channel before, like the goblins. I think the hobgoblins are pretty scary, but maybe we could have there be a little bit of that. We could start by talking about the town, or we could start by making a hex map. I think the sort of first 3 things we need to do is that we need to, like over the course of 3 streams, I'm assuming, make a town, make a hex map, and then make a faction sort of outline. I think I want to start with a faction outline, just talking about what are the powers at play that we're going to structure our adventure out of, our hex crawl out of. So we're going to have a sheet that's going to be our master, and whenever we're out there thinking, how do we populate this hex map, like somebody asked in stream before, how do we populate this hex map? What dungeons do we add? Who's in it? Who's fighting? Whenever we get to that point, I want to be able to just open up the map and think, okay, what did we say we liked when we were thinking about this originally? So here we have it, Dillhorne. And I think we just need to start a poll. Are they going to get on the train? No. The night train adventure starts with the players getting on the train, starts with a whole bunch of stuff happening on the train, factions at play and stuff like that. But what is, we're going to take the train completely out of it. Before the players get on the train, before they get on this train track that runs through town and goes to Blackguard, to the big city, to where the big adventure is, what is the beginning quest stuff, and how do we make that fun and interesting for us? So we're going to take the train out of the picture, and we're just going to focus on what is it that we like about regular forest sort of classic town is safe, wilderness is scary, monsters in the forest. What are some classic things that we're thinking of? Zamru says, what if there's a druid circle in the woods? That is a conflict with the town. That's fun. We could use Fae. If we're using Fae, we could use the goblins. We could also do a oh, Giannis. Hey Giannis, how you doing? So what gets them out of the small town? The train at the end of the adventure. That is not in this adventure. This adventure is about what happens in the small town, in the forest, right? Start at the tavern. We could absolutely start at the tavern. We could do... yeah, so we're not going to worry about the train. We're not going to worry about Blackguard. But it's got to be fit for 1st to 3rd level. So Leo, I don't think forest giants are going to work. It's got to be 1st to 3rd level. People hunting monsters in the forest. Local guild of hunters. We could do that. So I've got a little empty document here with a whole bunch of stuff. This is Nax's 5e Vault. I'm using Obsidian. If you're unfamiliar with Obsidian and you're a fan of this channel and the stuff we do on here, then you absolutely should check out our Obsidian videos. I've done this one, which talks about how Obsidian works. I've also done a follow-up that I don't have a handy button that cuts to the picture of the follow-up, but that one talks about this particular vault and how to set it up and how to get it to look like this. Because now if I go Dillhorne, you can see it looks kind of like a D&D book. And it tells me that Dillhorne is spelled incorrectly. But I know it's spelled correctly, so I'm going to add this to the dictionary. Ooh, loads of ideas. Fomorians. I don't think Fomorians work for level 1 to 3, Jonathan Frost. That's crazy talk. So I'm going to put on the screen here 1st to 3rd level beginner adventure, right? I'll add a for 5th edition. So, what are our factions? I'm going to go here. Druid Circle. We can make a Druid Circle. Fae, Druids, Goblins. That's a good start. Let's think of a couple of more. What else we got? Logging? Yeah, we could do logging. I don't know how big Dillhorne is, but it's new, so maybe that's enough for us. Logging faction. There is a, in Orathon, there's a logging faction that I've been using for some time in Atroxia called Standard Pulp. And they're the bad guys, one of the bad guys for the home game I'm running, Kingmaker. Sorry, I'm going to slurp. If I don't mute myself when I slurp, I get comments about it, so. Logging that threatens the wildlife. And the druids. Oh yeah. Oh wow, there's a bunch of stuff. I'm way behind on chat. Hello, Mr. Arts. Do I have a specific method of generating them on the fly? You should check out our map foo video on how I make those maps. Sometimes I draw them on the fly. Sometimes I go Google Dyson Logos maps or Chepeku maps. And I look at them and I think, very cool. And then I try and draw it on the map. Powerful magic item in the forest? Yeah, hang on, let's make a new thing. Stuff we like. Let's include, that's a better title. Fun stuff we want to put in here. Magic item in the forest. Let's just do magic items. We want forest item. We don't know what it is yet, right? So this is what I do when I start making an adventure. I literally try and just think. And whenever I have an idea that I think fits the theme, I write it down. And that's what we're doing right now. Blights. We'll put them under the Druid Circle, maybe? Or maybe that's a different thing. Bad wildlife. Wilf life. Hang on. There we go. Blights. A witch. I'm going to write down green hag because I love hags. Oh, we can also go... There we go. That's good, Dolus. Dillhorne has probably been settled as a camp to provide a safe road through the forest. I think that's why it exists. I think it was founded in the last couple of decades, and I think that's literally why it exists. So something about the track being attacked. Yeah, let's include... Who's attacking people on the road? I don't know. We'll find out. Local Guild of Hunters? There's a monster they can't hunt. I think slowly we're gonna get our faction list probably pretty big during this, and then we're gonna compact them into smaller subsections. So standard pulp and hunting guild probably goes under Dillhorne. We'll see how that works. Wild animals, we can do wild animals. I think we're gonna put it under the druid circle. So we're gonna go wild animals. But it's the druids. Right? They're wild shaping. Golthias tree. What's the toughness on a Golthias tree? Isn't it pretty scary? Sounds to me like it would be scary. That is a is it called a Golthias Blight in the new monster manual? It might be. Golthias Blight. Ah, my wet head muscle is doing its work. CR16. Rachel, that won't work. It's got to be level 1 to 3. Caravan, the bandits ran off into a fort in the woods. Yep, that's a classic. We can totally put that down. We'll put it down as one of our ideas here. Bandits. Why not? Dried up water supply. Hang on, let's put that. I think I'm going to do it, actually. Quests. "2024 rules, that's what I run with, but if we find something else, like, we can make stat blocks for this. That's not the end of the world. Like, we could make a Golthias stat block. But I tend to think of Golthias tree as being very powerful. Owlbear encounter? Hang on. Now we gotta do random encounters. Owlbear. Love it. Pied Piper inspired satyr. Charming kids to leave the town and go into the forest. Maybe. We could do that. Now I'm starting to think the druid circle isn't the Fae. Could go. Nerd. Right? Goblins with a little bit of pizzazz. Scatter ash. Goblins. Ash scattering. Now, if I were doing this alone, I would be doing this all by myself, and then I'd get stuck a lot. But I have you folks here, so we're going to make it together. If you can work on an adventure with a friend, if you have a DM friend, and he's running an adventure, and you're running an adventure, then, you can help each other out like that. That's a lot of fun. Local industry, logging industry, threatening them. Yeah, we got that here. Standard pulp. Sorry, I'm behind on chat, so if somebody's going, I said this before you wrote the thing down. That's my bad. Ooh, wow, I'm way behind. Mercenaries protecting the railway. Yes. So I am going to turn... I think we're sort of... I think we're realizing that these are sub-factions, right? Disgruntled villagers is the ugly, the people who lived there before the hamlet turned into a town. That does sound like the kind of stuff I'd include. Villager vigilantes. Not vigilantes. Angry about their little village turning, let's say, being industrialized. Right? That's a lot of the kind of themes we have in Orathon, or in Atroxia. Dragon Wormling. Is it a D&D starter adventure if there isn't a Dragon Wormling? I'll put it here. I don't know if we'll make a dungeon with it or not. Lycanthropy? We could do lycanthropy. That might be too tough for the level range, but maybe not. Is it on a road or a train track? It's both. It's side by side. Scrolling through chat here, folks. Mice are building spud guns. Giannis, you know the way to my heart. Let's get some spud gun mice in here. I don't know where to put them. I'm gonna just spud gun mice. There we go. Awesome. On the thing. I love fairy dragons, says Grapefruit Tango. Me too. Can we get fairy dragons in here? Druid Circle. Fairy dragons. God. Sorry. Type failure. Is the theme behind this something like civilization versus the wild, or Fae versus corruption? I think that's what we're discovering. It seems like chat is enjoying that. A standard pulp company, yes. Hang on. Yes, they're a corporation. This is not their headquarters. This is an outpost of their headquarters. Green Dragon Wormling? I got a Dragon Wormling on here. If it's green, it's too much like Fandelver, isn't it? Because of the logging company, Spiral Addiction says, the blights are aggressive to all who enter. I like that. God, did you know that I'm not a professional writer or director? Look at that. Apps disgrace. This is why we have editors. Ba-ba-ba. I'm getting a pop-up about my audio. Hang on. What does it say? Can't read it. Can you all hear me? It tells me my audio's bitrate is 0. I don't know if that makes any sense. Yeah, you're right. The hag should be in here. I don't know. I think what we have right now So we got our witches, our wilderness, all of that stuff, and we've got the town. And I think there's a bunch of stuff in town that makes us distrust them, right? There's a bunch of stuff there, they're logging. There's many reasons why we don't root for the town. They're encroaching on the wilderness. The wilderness is right in defending itself, right? So if we run that as an adventure, what's going to happen is the players are going to arrive in town, get to know the NPCs in town, like everybody in town, go kill a monster, and then feel bad about it. And that's not great. However, if you put in go kill a monster that both sides hate, and everybody hates faction, then we're in the green. Then we go, okay, they are clearly bad. I think the wilderness is our ugly faction. I think good is the town, because that is where the players are going to be playing. We can make the town be complex. We can make there be reasons to distrust the town. We can put ugly factions in town, like the logging company. But we also need to like some people in town. We need to create a group of people in town we like. And then I think we need to put the wilderness aside for a second. The Fae, the Druids, all that stuff. I think it's brilliant. But I think what we need is just a bad faction that nobody likes. If the logging people hear you kill them, they're all great. If the wilderness people hear you kill them, they're all great. The everybody hates faction. Yeah, Yana says make them the coolest. Yeah, you can make them dope. You can make them be all heavy metal, right? Like a cover album. You can make really cool, and then everybody hates them. The wilderness hates them. The town hates them. They are invasive to both. And then you've got the moral complexity about the wilderness, and you can have bad actors in the wilderness, like the Green Hag, maybe the Blights, I don't know. Someone in town, Reiner says, is blaming deaths on the cultists, on the druids in the woods, but is using them as a scapegoat to murder their enemies. That's pretty cool. Yeah, the Xanathar says maybe the mayor and the local government are great. We could put that in. We should put in a thing here where it's just the people we like. Might not be the government. It could be anything. We can go mayor, or we can go maybe it's the hunters, maybe it's something else. We go good guys. Good. Ugly, right? If you remember a 3-faction video, we've got a good faction, we got a bad faction, then we have the ugly faction. So these lads, we sort of have complex feelings about. Some of them we don't like, some of them we do like. These guys, in general, because this is the player's home base, we like them, but they have problems. So the logging company might be one of them. These mercenary railway guards, they might be another one. We might dislike them, but they can be removed. Those are adventures we can do in town, and they can be fun. Faction to pin the issue on as a red herring. Yep, that might be it. Now, my gut, if I had a game tonight, I would make this be undead, the bad faction. I would go, okay, that's the sort of obvious thing we do. We make them be undead. Now, we might make it be the goblins or the hag, right? We might pull some Fae parts out of the Fae section and say these are the bad faction. And then they're both forest themed. But I think our adventure would feel cooler, it would feel bigger, it would feel like it has grander scope if there's something else in there. I don't know what it is. Poacher faction, maybe. I think it needs to be unrelated. I think we need a new thing. Not wilderness, not town. What else is there? What lives in the forest that the forest also hates? Is it the dragon? Is there just a bad guy dragon with kobolds and stuff like that? And you know, there's a dragon faction. We could do a poll. What kind of stuff were you thinking? Hang on. What is our bad faction? Zombies. Let's do undead. Dragonkin. What more is there? What more do we have? Cult. Yep, that's very standard. We can always do a cult. Invasive species, right? Exactly. Phase spider. Yeah, like those could all belong to the invasive species, but it has to be a faction. Something big. Otiuk, again, you know, that we could put Otiuk and what was the other one? Phase spider. We could put them here on the random encounter table. I love a good Otiuk. Red caps. A wizard. Just not even a lich or anything, just bad wizard. Bugbears. Yeah, let's oh, I can only do 4 options. So let's do humanoid faction. Undead. Let's put it between undead faction, dragonkin, humanoid, goblinoid, right? Poll. Do a poll. Undead's winning right now. That makes sense to me. Undead is sort of universally something you can just make everybody hate. Because if we pick humanoids, or like humans, that's all fine and good. I've done that plenty of times. But that does mean we have to make a bunch of stat blocks. Which is not necessarily bad, but I think it'd be more fun if we pick a monster that we like and then play with it, as opposed to having to make a whole roster of bad guy stat blocks. Undead are kicking butt right now. The Hobgoblins Wilbit is a good idea. Now, I think I'm going to save them. I think when we're done with Dillhorne, we could make another adventure that's, you know, level 4 to 8 or 9 or something, like a longer adventure. We could make a Hobgoblin adventure out of it. That would be a lot of fun. But I think Hobgoblins are at their best when you can use lots of them, and they're really scary. So that means the players need to be higher level. I think Undead's winning. We've got the Undead and the Humanoid sort of at closer heat. So let's do a run on ballot. I do love a good run on ballot. And let's have there just be 2 options. Either Undead or some Humanoid. Right? If you're watching the VOD right now, then you won't be able to see these polls, I don't think. You can click on the chat replay, get that up, but I don't think the polls are going to be here. The results might show up, though. Wow. Alright. People want the undead. We're doing the undead. I like a good undead. Undead. Everybody hates these guys. There's a Matt Colville video called Everybody Loves Zombies. That's the idea. If you're ever confused about using this Vault, by the way, and in read mode it looks like this, but you can't type, and then you go to edit, and it looks like this, and you want where you can make it look like read mode, but type in it, you can click here, source mode, click on that, and then it mostly works. There are some things that get a little funky in it if you're trying to do some tables and stuff like that. I'm going to end the poll. Undead 1. All right, so let's do another poll. Let's talk about what kind of undead. Because a lot of people want mushroom undead. We can have that be one of the options. But we did sort of do that with the Wreck the Wave Splitter. We had done a version of that. Now we could do that again if we want, but we can also just go Undead Wizard. We can go and I feel like the Babik should have some intelligence. I agree. I think if it's just undead mushrooms, then we need to have the mushroom god, right? Undead wizard, undead knight. What's one more? Ghost lord. Play Red Hand Doom. Here we go. Some more options. Mycelium Undead takes the lead early on. Look at that. I'll do another run on ballot on this. So pick whatever you like, and then we'll pick the 2 top ones and we'll do a run on ballot. Second ballot. I think we're getting into a bit of a vibe. I think we're starting to understand this a little bit better. Now, maybe the goblins are not a part of this. Maybe the green hag isn't. Maybe we put them into a unaligned category, which is often useful, especially if we end up doing a hex crawl, having there be one category which is just these people aren't a part of the faction conflict. They are just individual little encounters. That can be a lot of fun. So we might just pull them out because they're in theme, but keep them as pull them out of the faction conflict, but keep them as a part of the overall adventure. All right, I'm going to close the poll in just a little bit. Last chance to vote right now. Undead Knight is in the lead. Meanwhile, you have until I've created an unaligned faction. That's the time you got. Here we go. Goblins. Guerrilla Warfare Goblins, I like that idea. I'm going to copy this, we're going to put it here. We're just going to change this to Green Hag. Broken. There we go. Oh, hang on, this is the wrong. It needs one more hashtag. Hashtag unaligned. And closing the poll. Now let's do the second ballot. Either Mycelium, Undead, or Undead Knight Leader with some kind of marshalling troops. So either what we're doing is, we're doing a mushroom, hive mind, assessing a bunch of these things. They could speak in unison, that kind of stuff. Or They're soldiers from a long-forgotten war, and you stumble upon their gravesite as a part of one of the adventures, and you can find out how they died, find out that they swore an undying oath to a knight leader. It will kind of be like the Ghost Knight from Game of Thrones. No, Lord of the Rings. And then that guy's going to lead an attack on the town. Or the Mycelium is going to lead an attack on the town. Well, either one. But make no mistake, climax of the adventure, bad guys attack the town. Otherwise, what are we doing? That's crazy talk. So, here we go. Click. I don't know why I'm cutting between cameras so much. I've got this button that lets me just fucking go at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Undead Knight Leader is quickly in the lead. So if you're on Mushroom Gang, go vote. Do your mystic civic duty. Unmuted slurp. I'm sorry. Look up Yellow Musk Zombie. No. I did that the other day. They are crazy. Combining them. I feel like those are different genres. Am I crazy? Do people not feel like those are different genres? The people demand the third option. Alright. Alright. Here we go. One more. One more. I'm going to show my bias in the options. The combined one is called Both Somehow, because I don't know how we're going to make that work thematically. But if that's what the people want, I live to serve. All right. Stand strong, enlightened centrists. Thank you, Colin. Thank you so much. The original idea wasn't undeath caused by mushrooms. It was mushroom people but undead. Oh, I thought we were doing Last of Us. Undead myconids? Undead myconids. Alright, I like this adventure more and more now. Alright. The people who can't pick have won. I'm gonna serve, but I'm allowed to be a little snarky about it. Alright, then let's do one more poll. I'm just gonna keep asking polls. That's what it's gonna be. This is the poll Discord, the poll chat, the poll stream. Ah, man, if I could say words, I think I might be able to do this YouTube thing. So, hang on. Alright, one more poll. I'm gonna write down. For VOD viewers, it's which are they? Are they humans who are mushroomly undead, or are they myconids who are undead? This is Democracy Manifest. Thank you, David. Humans who are mushroomly undead seems to be winning. It does sound like Last of Us. Undead Migrants fits the theme of forest corruption at least. I don't want everything to be about the forest corruption. I want there to be something that is unrelated to it. I want you to be able to go to the people who are logging the forest, and they and the Druid Circle both agree. We have to go get rid of the night guy. Didn't you say you did The Last of Us already? I have. In the Wreck of the Wave Splitter adventure. But that's alright. This is different. We got a knight in charge. That one was a sort of that one was a mushroom god who possessed a thing. The best thing about losing these polls is you can do it yourself if you lose. Hell yeah. That's the spirit, Twister. Alright, so we're doing humans who are mushroomly undead. So there is a mushroom sentience controls all of this. Let's go. What did I do with the Wreck of the Wave Splitter? Let's have a look. Stand by. Hop over. Here we go. Wreck the Wave Splitter. This is an adventure that we put together on stream. Put a little map here from Sean Delver on YouTube. Peril Atoll. Adventure background. It's different. This is a ship. It's not entirely the same, but it is the sort of same core premise. So I'm wondering, is there Myconid Sovereign? The Reef, we called it. Who's a Violet Fungus Necrohulk. So it's the stat block at the end is going to be a different bad guy. I've got these mind control spores. So we've done this. Whatever we're doing now, we're going to do different, right? Because if you want the if you want the Last of Us adventure, it's here. It's called the Wreck of the Wave Splitter, and it's on the Patreon for anybody who backs us on there. I think you can also buy it individually. It's only a few pages. You can also watch the stream and run it based off of that. Unmuted Slurp. Where are my manners? Yeah, could I do a prequel or something connected? That'd be cool. That would be cool. So I then think, now we talked in the video about factions. We talked about nesting factions, right? So we got the people we like here, these good guys. And I like Anna's idea about these being ugly. Maybe the hunting guild is a part of the good guys, you know? And then I think these two are the bad faction in town, right? We could subset it even further and have there be a corporations, bad. There are two companies that effectively run commerce in town. Ariston Rail Company and Standard Pulp. There we go. I'm going to end this poll. Hunting Guild. I think that's sort of the old guard in town. There might not be this kind of old guard. What is it about the town we like? We need, you know what we need? We need a lovable NPC. We need somebody who, because part of the thing of the faction video is that we can't talk to a faction. You can only talk to NPCs. So, who is it that makes the players feel loved in town? Who is it that makes the players go, "Oh, this is a great town"? And it can be multiple answers. It could be, you know, a collection of 5 NPCs we like. So what are they? Kooky old man. I love a good old. Why are you? I tell you. Oh yeah. Kooky old man. Just a little guy. Just a little guy. Just a little guy. I love my community. You people are the best people. I love you so much. Tavern owner. Yeah, why not? Tavern owner. A butcher named Meat who speaks only in one-word phrases. Meat. Children pranksters. That's really good. Shopkeeper. Yeah. This stuff is going to sort itself. I think the railroad mercenaries, I think the players are going to hate them. I think we should make them hateable. I think they're thugs. I think they push the players around. They're like rival adventurers. Just a little guy. That's going to be our shopkeeper. We're going to cook, village elder, a kooky old man. Hey, what's the name of the little guy? What's the name of the little guy? What is his species? I need it. It's the red brands all over again. Yeah, I think the railroad mercenaries are kind of red brands. And we also need the tavern owner. We're gonna delete the shopkeeper because that's gonna be our guy. Guy. Whoa. I look away from chat for a second. Gibby. Gibby is lovely. I love Gibby. What is Gibby? Kobold? Gnome? Hinku? Oh, you can't see what I'm typing. I'm sorry. That's my bad. Here it is. Putting it together. I'm sort of going name. You know, what they do. Kobold? I feel like kobold's sort of standard. A Gripply. Or like a frogman. Let's write frogman. Little frog guy? Why not? Is Gibby not the guy that falls from the roof at iCarly? I believe it is, yeah. Tavern owner. Child pranksters. I think we're just gonna leave that as is. We're gonna, you know. Actually, you know what they are? They're not. They're orphans. They're orphan pranksters. There's 3 of them. Cookie old man, silly little frog man. I love this town already. This is my favorite town. Trongsprocket, Gnomish inventor. Orphans, yeah. But they're playing pranks. They're, they've got a little community. They help each other out. Who's our lovable tavern owner and what makes them lovable? You got a name on him? Name that boy? Rex, Flick, and Bryn. Those are good orphan names. Anna, you can't call her that. You and I are Icelandic. We could say that word, but if I say it on the internet, I think I get taken out. But we can make her be because I think Meat is just a human. I just like the idea of him being a human. Something Stormcrusher. Korash. Whoa, that's not a word. There we go. Korash Stormcrusher. We got a whole bunch of NPCs here. We got a hunting guild. We'll need to know who leads the hunting guild. And second in command. So the Standard Pulp Company, they cut down trees, post bounties. We're going to fight the Bay. Just the dwellers in the forest. Act like local thugs and bandits. Real rude dudes. There we go. That means I'm going to take out the bandits from here, because I think we're doing them with in a more interesting way with the real company. I don't know what to do with these vigilante villagers. I'm also going to move the town up top and the village down at the bottom. And then there are Radigan making spud guns. I'm going to put that in here. I feel like we're getting together a pretty good idea of these factions. We need a face to the evil companies. Yeah, that's right. I like those ideas. Zamru. Bowl. I don't know about these names, I'll be honest. Let's have... Let's just open up the zine. And I've got a page in here somewhere on cultures. And I'm just going to use that, rip a couple of names from it. Here we go. Atroxia names. Osmond, Polina. Two different names. And is Y? a little better. A little more Atroxian. Standard Pulp should have an uppity, gender-neutral girl boss who doesn't like doing any hands-on work and hates being here. Yeah. Thinks it's beneath them. Now, for a lot of this stuff, you know, we're gonna get some names down. I think the mercenaries are an adventuring company. I think they're an elite team. They're a rival team of, you know, 5 or 6, or however many players you have, and we have them as our sort of bad guy team. Warlord. Ex-Mage Hunter. That's a thing in Atroxia. We could even have there be Ranger Archaeologist. These are some subclasses we're working on for the zine. I'm going to put a couple of them in here, but not all of them. Let's have there be a Warlock. And one more. Something slightly spellcastery is probably fun. Bard? Must be annoying to have a Bard bad guy. I like that idea. Agatha Amick. Yeah, that's a good name. So we got pretty good lay of the land here. I think what we need for the undead is a defector. Someone who's broken free from the Myconids and or the spore thing is undead but has some kind of sapience. I don't think they're a good guy, but I think I like the idea of having there be a bad guy faction with one ugly sort of agent that is no longer a part of it, but you could find them in the forest. We might put them in a random encounter list. Or we might just make a little thing in here. Right? Broke free of the curse. Maybe that is the knight. Maybe the mushroom mushroom sapiens is one thing and the knight is another thing. No, I think it should just be something else. I don't know what though. I just like the idea of meeting a member of that faction and being able to talk to them. The growing knight. Like a tree thing? That's cool. One of the orphan parents. Oh yeah. That's a brilliant idea, Rex Pack. Their love of their child, or you know, that overwrote the thing. Like that's a trope, but I think it's cool. I think it can't just be that. I think they think it is that. But they have the magic item. Remember we were talking about we wanted a magic item? I think the Renegade has that. Yeah. Heirloom. That's cool. Also, good Xanathar. That's a contrast, right? Lighting your NPCs, you got the key light. They want to go back to their kid, but they can't because they're a little zombie freak. You know what I mean? The town would never accept me the way I am. Ah, yeah. Love that. Hell yeah. Can't go back to town. Will be rejected. I think we're really cooking. Now, there could be many magic items. Hi, koi fish. I like the idea of an heirloom. How you doing, koi fish? I've been playing a lot of CK right now, actually. I've been playing a crazy amount of the Game of Thrones Crusader Kings mod. Uh, I started as Robert Baratheon and did Robert's Rebellion. And I managed it. It's ludicrously difficult, but I managed it. And I got to a point where my goal was to do Robert Baratheon, but competent, and it worked. I had to be a real tyrant, and then I started to realize that I had a lot of kids, and there was going to be a crazy amount of chaos when I died. But I managed to get to absolute crown authority in one lifetime from minimal. So I got through 4 stages of crown authority with Robert Baratheon, designated an heir, picked the kid that was really good, and his stats were amazing, but his traits were terrible. So literally every action, CK does these pop-ups, and it's like, do you do A, B, or C? And I click one of those things, and stress goes up. He lasted 3 weeks. Stress just went up and up and up and up and up, and then he died. And now I was an infant. I was a little child running the 7 kingdoms, and all of my siblings had their own faction against me. And I was just sitting there staring at the screen as my kingdom shattered. And I was like, oh, God. All that for nothing. Yeah, it's amazing how much work those people put in. A friend of mine texted me out, and they were like, "It's incredible that the greatest Game of Thrones video game is a mod," but it's absolutely correct. Like that is 100% correct. God bless the stress spiral. It's so good. It's such good game design. I don't think CK2 had it. I remember being confused by it when CK3 came out. Crusader Kings 3 is the game we're talking about. And it because the more stressed you get, the more negative traits you get. So the likelier you are to get stressed. It's like exhaustion in D&D. Your character is running a domain, and they get more and more and more stressed, and then they break and shatter. I've been meaning to, but I am terrified of getting Europa 5. Magnus, my co-writer who writes everything we do on the Patreon with me, has gotten really sucked into Europa 5, and I know I would love it. Like the spreadsheet nerd in me, the guy who made the Atroxia domain spreadsheet. Hang on, gotta show this to people who haven't seen it. Little break. Here's how I know how much money Blackheart makes. I made a spreadsheet. All the populations are listed, how much they're taxed, what improvements they have in here. It's all stamped out into this massive sheet that just goes on, including the federal budget of the entire domain and stuff like that. And Europa does this now. They have this exact same thing in there, and it's more intense than anything I've made. And you can like build roads and stuff. And I remember I was sitting down watching him open up Europa and he was showing me. He was like, my capital is here, and these are the areas that I have decent command over. But this area is really far away from me, and I have no command over it. And I'm like, that doesn't look that much further than this area. And he was like, yeah, I know. I don't know why it's like that. And then we found a new button that was build a road, and he was like, what? No, this is new. And I'm like, yeah, you could connect these two with a road, and then you'd be able to go between them. I'm telling you, I think that man, the game designer on that game, this last game, must be the most autistic person on earth, and I relate so hard. I'm looking at this going, this. If I wasn't self-employed, this is what I'd be doing. But at the moment, a little annoyingly, I know whatever. I'm so fortunate to be able to be doing this for a living, but a little annoyingly, I'm like, if I open up this game, I will just stop making videos. Like, this is dangerous. Yes, Koivish, I know about Anbenar. I'm ludicrously excited about Anbenar. Whenever I talk about my setting to EU4 nerds, exactly, I'd have to fire myself for slacking off. It's dangerous. I'm a workaholic, to be fully honest with you. I spend so much time on the channel, and whenever I have a free minute, I'm like, I start a new project. I'm like, let's do a Dillhorne adventure. That sounds fun. Because I love this stuff. I genuinely, when I'm relaxing, I wish I was doing this stuff. So I'm incredibly fortunate to be in this position. But that means that every now and again I stress out, and I can't get anything done. So I now have to pencil in time to be like, I have 3 hours left of the day. I'm going to go play some video games. And I have to pencil in and I have to put it on my calendar. Otherwise, I don't do it. And I'm terrified of losing control over that if I get Europa, because it looks like the perfect game for me. Like, I can't express how much that tickles every part of my brain. Fallatus DE, is such budget planning something you do more often in your game, or is this a novelty? Most of my games I don't do this for. I'm running right now, Kingmaker is the name of my game. Audio seems to be stuttering. There's a thing my PC does every now and again where it stutters. It might be that. I'll go check the bit rates. But what was I saying? The game I'm running is very focused on domain management. So right now, this is what I'm doing. Desynced. Oh, poop. Back now? Refreshing? Alright. Everybody try refreshing. Apologize. Anyway, I'm terrified of Europa because my Kingmaker game is based on that. I love grand strategy games. So I sort of tried to make a grand strategy game on top of my D&D game. And I told my players, this is how I want to do it. And they said, okay. And they've been going along with it. And they're having fun. Like, they're going on adventures because they need to fix the economy. I don't know why that appeals to them, but it appeals to me. And it makes money be interesting. You go into a dungeon, you get loot, spend the loot on upgrading town, right? That's a fun mechanic. One day, instead of the terrible, terrible system I have now, I will make a system out of that and we'll do something with it. But at the moment, I have no plans for that. It's so out of scope. But I love that stuff. People still commenting on the audio. We might just be borked. I don't know. I don't know what to do. If I go to my audio settings here on OBS, output, audio bitrate, these things all seem to be correct. Yeah, Senator, have you seen that, was it Dungeon Delve? You have to fight the Economancer? Okay, everybody's fine. Anyway, one of these days I'll go make a domain system and I'll get to find a way to make that work in D&D without requiring spreadsheets. I am not there. At the moment, the spreadsheet is necessary for the game I run because it also modifies things like general income. So they've got median income, and there are various features that have an effect on it. So if I go to cross keys, you can see here this increases median income by 200, but this here is already modified by a percentage equal to the region's economy, which is modified by development. I went crazy on this stuff. There was no reason I had to. I wanted to. And sometimes if you're a DM, you just have to go do the dumb thing you want to do because that is what is making you do work. So if you're in that position where you're like, I don't know what I want to, I don't know how I get excited for next game. Didn't we do a video on this very recently? I don't know. I don't know how to get excited for next game. Well, just do the thing you want to do that you're excited about. And then give that excitement to your players. And if you want to run a domain system, don't do what I'm doing. Go find a system that works for it. Pathfinder Kingmaker has a system like this that's all in hexes and uses abstracted build points. Kingdoms of Warfare exists. They have their own way of figuring these things out. They use domain size and abstract out all the spending into just actions, which is something I have considered. So, yeah. I have not played Eve, Glithy. I've also not played Traveler, although I have read through the character creation section. I've written so much world history that my players will never learn or even care about. Yeah. I've had that thing happen where I tell my players, hey, I'm thinking about retconning this. And my players all just stare at me and I'm like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, okay, that means I'm fine. That means nobody knows. I can change that. I don't need to worry. I used the frog merchant as an example. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, it's the Birna video. That's right. Anyway. Here we are. My goal with this stream was to try and figure out what the sort of overarching factions are. And I think we've got that. We've got Dillhorne, that's our sort of good town. We've got a lot of people we like, people we want to protect, people that we want to make sweet and that we want to love. We've got this hunting guild. I don't really know what to do with them yet. We'll figure that out later. We got a couple of bad guy corporations. We got Standard Pulp, which is the logging company. We also have this bad guy adventuring team. They're mercenaries working for the Ariston Rail Company. Eventually we'll have to give them a name and stuff. We got an idea for vigilante villagers. I don't know what to do with that yet. We have a big bad faction of baddies who bad, and they are all undead. And they are mushroomy undead. They are people who undeaded via mushroom. Alright? We have a renegade, who is a rogue agent, somebody who broke away from the curse, is a parent of one of the orphans in town. They have an heirloom that broke them free. They want to be reunited with their kid, but that's not gonna work for them because they think once they go into town they'll be rejected. It's sort of the Will Turner thing. Then we have the Wilderness, which is our ugly faction, the one we started by talking about at the start of the stream. Druid Circle, they got druids, wild animals, fairy dragons. We're talking about fae, maybe a satyr. Pied Piper who lures kids away to kill them in the forest. Fae doing Fae things. Blights, they're, aggressive twigs. Then we have unaligned. I like the idea of rat clan. I like the idea of a green hag. I like the idea of goblins. I think all of these things we can just check in. We don't need to worry about that too much. And we have a little list here of things we want to include. The roads aren't safe kind of quest. Dry water supply. Druids did this? Question mark. Random encounters. We could put a dragon into the adventure. Phase spider, audio, owlbear. We want some magic items. So there's some forest item, but we also know there's some heirloom item. And I guess the question I gotta ask you folks is, which is more exciting as the thing to do next stream? Because I think we're gonna do this again next Monday. Let me go double check my calendar. Like I'm booking with my Maybe not. I don't know if Abby does have rehearsal next Monday. No, her concert's on Sunday. Well, we could do this next Monday. Let's decide we're going to do this next Monday regardless. All right? And we are going to talk about either the town, we're going to make a map, and we're going to write down more stuff about the NPCs, or we're going to lay out a hex grid, and we're going to put the dungeons on the hex grid and try and sort of create an outline for the adventure in 3D space, or in 2D space, like on a map, right? So which one do you want? I'm going to make a little poll. Don't answer just yet. What is next stream about? Make it in town? Or make it a hex map? It can either be what you think is going to be more useful to get you going, or it can be what you're more excited about. Either answer is correct when you're DMing, right? Hi, Maiko. This program is Obsidian. We have made a video about Obsidian on our channel. I talk about how I use it and why I use it. This particular version you saw on screen just then is a part of the SRD vault that Nax created, one of the patrons. We also have a video where I talk you through how to set up that vault, how to add mystic monsters from the series I make monsters on, how to put them into the vault, and then you can use my monsters at your game. And you have the entire SRD at your fingers, and it's quicker to homebrew in than anything else, because everything is hyperlinked. Obsidian is brilliant. I'm not getting paid to say that. I'm just a massive fan. It's a free software. You can download it, set it up on your local engine. Oh, James is here. Most exciting thing next stream, teaching me how to use Obsidian. It's so easy. It's just, you just type. Alright, it seems that making the town is winning. So next stream, we're going to make a town. Yes, I do have a special talking about Obsidian button here in the thing. Look at that. People ask every stream now, so I just made a button for it. Next stream, we're going to make a town. If this adventure sounds cool to you, and you're thinking, why didn't you do anything with the train tracks? The train tracks are all in the zine, the broadsheet, which I made and is available on the Patreon. If I hop on over to the screen here, this is a 57-page document that introduces you to my campaign setting. It's called the Broadsheet. It's an introduction to Blackguard and the Capital of the Atroxian Republic. But there's also a chapter in here. You can, hey, I don't even have to scroll. I can just look here, Introduction to Atroxia, page 34, click. And there we go. That's an introduction to Atroxia, the themes in it, how to set up campaign arcs, the history, you know, and sort of start, middle, climax, if you want to set up your own campaign from scratch in Atroxia, or if you want to use adventure seeds from the themes. You can also, if we go back to the front, I can also just click here to go to the front, click on the page corner. I can go Argent Sector, page 22, click, and we can get introduced to the Argent Sector. It's got a map of the whole area, and you can see here, it's got adventure hooks. Some basic, rats in the cellar, why not? But some a little more fun. For instance, there's a whole gang here with lycanthropes that you can go fight. It's just a little adventure seed that you're going to have to make into an adventure on your own, but it's enough for you to sort of get an idea about what you're doing in your campaign. But if you don't want to do that and you want a ready-made adventure, I also have one of those, the Night Train. It's a pretty long adventure, I'll be honest, but it's got a ticking clock built in. It is a mystery about a lead box that players find on the night train away from Dillhorne, the town we just made, heading into the capital of Blackguard. See, here it is, Dillhorne, right there on the map. Blackguard just a bit further away. It's got these factions. It's got maps of all the carriages, and if you get it on, if you go on the Patreon and where you can grab this, you can also download the maps in full scale, so you can set them up on your VTTs. And every cabin, every room, there's a list for what you can find in there. I'm also going to scroll down. You got these sheets for the NPCs with the stat blocks, what they think about people, what they want to talk about. You can see what they have in their pockets. Little lines of dialogue. Beautiful art created by Brimrun, my good friend who I worked with me on Echoes of the End. And I'm really proud of this adventure because it outlines the carriages, it outlines all the NPCs, and then the next thing that happens is that we have a timeline of events. Here's the lit box. Hang on, I have to move me. Here's the lit box you can find. You can see that's what the whole adventure is about. And you got a timeline of events. It's a 2-hour journey. So you literally, as the DM, you just run them hour by hour, going, what happens here? What happens in the next section? What happens in the section after that? And you just go through. And the timeline is built in such a way that you will, over time, generate tension. The game will get more and more tense as you go along because there are things that are pushing us closer and closer into conflict. So if this seems interesting to you, go head on over to our Patreon. It's available to our Adept tier supporters. You can also buy it individually at the price of an Adept subscription, or you can become a member and you'll get access to bonus videos, our Mystic Monsters, and future issues of the Zine, the Exploration rules, Firearm rules, the Arcane Forge, magic items, Warlord class, and so much more. I'm incredibly proud of the work we do on there. And that's going to be where we pick it up next time. Thanks so much for watching this video and this live stream. This channel is run by me and my girlfriend. And if you want to support us directly, go check out our Patreon I just mentioned. And until next time, keep studying the mystic arts.